Hello and welcome to another segment of I Remember Menomonee Falls, a program which interviews individuals who have demonstrated long-term commitments to the village in recent decades through their membership on various village boards or commissions, volunteerism in the village, participation in the development of the village, or service on various civic organizations of the village. It is the committee's intent to create and preserve a historical timeline and perspective as a public reference source for future generations. My name is Richard Rechlicz, and I'm very honored today to introduce our guest, former Village Board President and trustee, and still current resident of Menomonee Falls, Joseph Greco. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you very much, Rick.
How are you today?
Very good, thank you.
Well, Joe, we're going to dive right into this, if you don't mind. But first, let's get a little bit of your personal history. Bring us a little bit of your past and the current, what you're doing, and where you were born, live, high school, stuff like that.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and I was the child of immigrant Italian parents, both who came from Italy. And then after high school graduation, I went on to the University of Wisconsin and got a degree out of there.
And I hear you were pretty involved in sports at
Very
that time.
much.
And the rumor has it you played football with a pretty notable athlete at the time, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I understand that you played football with Alan Amici, who happens to be the first Wisconsin football player to win the Heisman, went on and played for the Colts, but he had a nickname on the team, I understand. They called him the Horse. But I also understand you had a nickname on that team. Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, I had a great game one night, and the reporter from the Kenosha News labeled me. He said, "We had Alan Amici, and now we have the pony."
The pony. So we had the horse and the pony.
Alan Amici was a big guy.
Yeah. Well, it's a good backfield.
Yeah.
So, but I also understand you ran track,
Yes.
and you hold the record in the
A 200-yard dash. Yep, and it's a record that will never be broken.
And you can tell us why.
Because the very next year they went to meters.
To meters, so that 200-yard dash will stand that record. Always the right place, the right time.
Yep.
Well, let's get on to to your service to the village, and just tell us how long you were on the village board.
I was on the village board 22 years. It was 12 years as village trustee and 10 years as village president.
That has to be one of the longer tenured serving as a trustee and village board president.
Yes.
Okay. As a village board president, explain to us, or let's start talking about the things that you felt were the most important issues you faced and resolved while as village board president.
Well, what was interesting is, not to brag, but the fact is that I'm the guy that settled sewer wars. And how that came about is Ron Buteri ran against me. And at one of the forums, Ron made the comment, he said, I remember the words, he said, "It is unconscionable that the village board has allowed this sewer wars to go on as it is." And how sewer wars came about, for those who don't remember it, we had our own sewage disposal plant. And
where was that located?
that was located off of Lily Road and Fond du Lac Avenue. And it's now a park.
Right.
The state more or less forced us to hook up with one central storage plant down at MMSD, and I'm told that we were told that we would be billed on usage, how many gallons come out of a house. And lo and behold, that got changed to where we were being billed on property value. And before I got on the village board, just rejected, and they started lawsuits, and MMSD just shut down all development in Menomonee Falls to where we couldn't lay down a sewer pipe. So after Ron said that, I just sat in that chair and said, he's absolutely right. And I decided that night that if I'm elected, I'm going to do my best to settle this thing.
Now, that had been going on, so by the time you took over the issue of the sewer wars, there had been litigation that went all the way up to the Supreme Court, correct?
It went up to the Supreme Court, we lost.
On all the levels, so.
And I never could understand why we continued to fight it, because we had lost. So once I was elected, the first telephone call I made to my family, but the second one was to the mayor of Milwaukee, who really controls MMSD, Metropolitan Milwaukee Sewage District. He appoints the commission, so he's the guy to talk to. And boy, I got a bad reception. His chief of staff barely hung up on me. And so anyway, I continue to campaign the other communities who are affected, because they had joined the litigation. And one meeting, I just had it, and I said, folks, I'm leaving this meeting and I'm going to go see the mayor of Milwaukee. So I did. I went, and I went into his office, and I said, I'd like to see the mayor. And they said, he's busy. And I said, I'll wait. And I was really upset. The Italian came out of me.
Yeah, there you go.
So lo and behold, one of the aldermen, who I had made contact with, who was on our border, he saw me, and he came in and he said, what's going on? And I told him. So he went in to the offices and told them that I wasn't going away. So the mayor was busy, but I did get to see his chief of staff. And he said, are you serious? I said, yeah, I'm serious. I said, I think we just need to have our consultant who we had hired. Oh, do we have the consultants? We spent, and by the way, we were not paying the bill. We were not paying what they were billing us. And all that money had accumulated. So I said, all we need to do is get the final number. And luckily, the village board supported me, all but one member. And because it was a big number. I mean, we were in the millions. And his chief of staff said, I'll talk to the mayor. So a couple of days later, I got a call from the chief of staff, and he said, the mayor would like to see you. I knew that we could make a deal. So I went down there with our department head, and we said we're ready to settle. So the other communities, I said, folks, we used to meet every month. I called a special meeting. I said, folks, we're going to settle. I hate to bail out on you, but we're done. And they went back to their council and came back and said, we're done too. So we met downtown, we had a big party, and we settled sewer wars. It was over.
Because all those municipalities that we're talking about were in the same predicament that we were in.
Oh, yeah. And it didn't make sense. We had lost in the Supreme Court, and we were still fighting. And Ron Baturi had seen it.
Yeah.
And so really I get credit to Ron, because he was the guy who really kicked it off.
Well, we had you also worked well with an alderman in Milwaukee on the board, Tom Nardelli?
Yeah, Tom Nardelli was the alderman.
Okay.
And John Norquist was the mayor.
And so ultimately, in layman's terms, how was it resolved then? What was the decision?
Well, what we did after we knew the number, what we did is we still billed folks on usage. We would get billed on property values, and then we would convert it to usage.
Okay.
Because we said, what if you have an elderly couple who, compared to a home that has 10 kids?
Right.
So and I don't know today, I've been off the board I still assume, well, no, I was told by Mark Fitzgerald that the bill has been paid. We no longer own, but we still get billed on property value.
Okay. And after that, which was a huge accomplishment, which really, because I remember
I'm
moving
proud of
out.
that.
Well, you should be. I remember moving out here in an area that we were still on septics, that it was coming. That was an issue. Nobody, Hunter's Ridge, all that, there were moratoriums all over and you couldn't develop.
I can remember a lady coming before us at that podium in tears. She said, it is our 50th anniversary. She lived on the south side. And she said, it is our 50th anniversary and we can't have anyone over because our septic system has failed us and it has overflown, and the only thing we can do is get a holding tank.
Okay.
And I remember that because I was a trustee at the time, and it really hit home.
Okay.
And I knew in my heart it had to be settled. And the first thing we did was laid pipe down Pilgrim Road to the south side.
And it expanded from there?
Yep.
Okay. After sewer wars, what was the next project that you were involved in that
Well,
you felt pretty passionately about?
I can remember our village manager saying to me, he says, Joe, everything here seems to be under control. He said, where we really need your help is in Madison, because legislators are not voting in our favor. So I started attending the Wisconsin Municipality, League of Municipality, and the head guy there had said to me, Joe, what's happening? He said, the legislators are telling you one thing. They come up here and they do something differently. And a good example of it was the fireman's bill that proposed that if a fireman contracts lung cancer, it shall be presumed that he obtained it as a fireman. And we said, what if he packs three packs of cigarettes a day, you know? So I got very active with the league, and I got elected president of the league. So I started lobbying, and I said, you know, I'm doing this by myself, this lobbying. So my wife and I had taken a trip out to Denver, and I saw mass transportation, which the mayor of Milwaukee always proposed, and we always opposed it. And I hate to think why, but I have my thoughts. So anyway, I said, wow, I asked someone, where's City Hall? So my wife and I went up to City Hall, and I said, could I talk to the mayor? I want to inquire about this mass transit. She said, he's in a meeting with all the suburban communities. I said, oh, really? So I said to him, I said to Sheila, I said, we're going to head back home because I want to do that. I want to bring all the communities together. So I came back, and I went to the mayor of Milwaukee. Well, I talked to the mayor of Sherwood, and he had said, you know, to do something like that, you've got to have support from the mayor, John Norquist. So I made an appointment, saw John, and he said, that's a great idea. So we contacted all the communities and told them what we wanted to do with his signature on it, because by my signature alone, I didn't think it was going to fly. So we met, and we needed a name, and we named it SEME, S-E-M-E, Southeastern
Municipal?
Wisconsin. And we met, and I was still president of the league, and I said, we need lobbyists. So we would go up to Madison, the mayors, and we made an impact. And we made some legislators sweat, because they found out from the league, the other mayors found out from the league, that their legislators are not doing us justice. They were leaning the other way. So the SEME group was very effective, and we got the firefighter prevention bill defeated. We had seen Chuck Qualla, and we asked for his support of the Democratic Party, and we believed we had support from the Republicans, but it was more difficult, and to get both parties to agree.
Sure. Do you know if it survived the association to today?
No. When I left office, they didn't continue.
Yeah.
They didn't pick up the ball and go, and then John Norquist had left, and it kind of fell apart.
Okay. Well, moving on, you were also involved with the remodeling of the village.
Yeah. This is part of our remodeling, this beautiful facility.
But there were issues about should we remodel this or move elsewhere, wasn't there at the time?
Well, the question was, should we remodel the library because of the fact that people were using computers? And funny story, we introduced computers to Village Hall, and one of the staff members opposed it. And she said, Joe, she said, I'm going to warn you, if we can look out, they can look in. and lo and behold, the word hacking
Sure.
came to be. But again, the village board really participated in this beautiful facility. So we remodeled it, and there are computers in Village Hall.
Yeah, both of them, right. And they also had remodeled the library as well.
Library, yep, and it's a beautiful, and you know what? When I go in there, there's still a lot of people, so, and we made sure we had computers in the library, so people who didn't have a computer could come in and use theirs.
Yeah, well, I note even now, the library is very well-attended place, and it's continued to update itself with the cafeteria, the little cafe they have in it, but
Yes.
it's a wonderful facility. So you alluded to that firefighters prevention bill, and there was also the other branch of our enforcement, the police
Yes,
department had an issue that came up during your term.
yes.
Can you explain that for us?
Well, there was if everyone remembers, there was a shooting, I think it was in Hartford, a father and son,
Yes.
and they had automatic weapons. Well, our guys, and I had a visit from one of the policemen saying, Joe, you know what they're proposing to buy? And I said, no. And he said, shotguns. I said, you're kidding. He said, no. I said, no. So I didn't want to get the officer in trouble, coming directly to me. So we talked, I brought it to committee. I said, I understand we're buying new weapons. Can I ask what kind of weapons we're going to buy? And I was told the shotguns. And I said, what? In this age? No. I said, the bad guys are going to outgun us. I said, we need to talk about automatic weapons. So, and luckily again, the village board, we had one member of the village board, Bill Holtz, who was a big proponent. Well, his son is a police officer today. And he was really vocal. So we ended up buying automatic weapons. And with them, they were going to buy one clip, which I think is 20 rounds. And I said, no, you got to do better than that.
Yeah.
So we ended up with 2 clips or something. But yeah, so I think our police force is well gunned today.
Okay. And there was an issue also that came up with Wisconsin Electric Power Company, wasn't there?
Yeah.
What was that issue? What was that all about?
Yeah, well, my son lived over off Lily Creek, and on a beautiful Sunday afternoon, his power went out. And I said, what? How can your power go out on a beautiful Sunday afternoon? So I called Wisconsin Power with the help of Max Vogt. And
Max Vogt was?
Max Vogt was the director of Public Works.
Public Works.
And they said, yeah. He said, we're underpowered, is the answer we got from Wisconsin. I said, well, what do you mean? I said, don't you guys talk to Village Hall and find out what the master plan is, what subdivisions are going to go in? And they said, no. I said, don't you think that's kind of silly? So we got that subdivision all rewired. Today, it's probably one of the best subdivisions out there
Yeah.
as far as power. But I hope that Wisconsin Electric is still talking to our village. And then we found out that Wisconsin Power wasn't even talking to our school district. You know, are you going to be doing more schools? So anyway, I was very upset and I got very vocal. And the media supported they wrote articles. So the head of Wisconsin Electric was down in Kenosha. And he made a comment. He said, "I don't want another Joe Greco down here." So I had a reputation with Wisconsin Electric. But I think we are powered correctly. I don't know now.
Well, there was a lot of changes that came about while you were on the board to the positive, as you've discussed here, but got a couple disappointments, wishing a couple do-overs that you would,
Well, yeah, there's some areas where development was allowed, and I don't want to specify which ones they are, that are not up to par. And we had a board that developers would go before, and we would end up with what we have. So I wished, and I was told it was illegal, I wish the village had the authority to set standards. But all we had the authority to do was rezone and zone. And I wish the village had that ability. And I don't think they have today.
if I'm not mistaken though, and again, I had the pleasure of serving on the Plan Commission with you as the Village Board President, as the chairperson of the Plan Commission, so I got to know you there. You began, I think, started using developers who did work
Right.
in this village and resided perhaps in this village also, and placing them on committees to help future development.
I was able to place 2 developers, because they were reluctant, because the village was the enemy. But I did get 2 developers to serve on committees. And by the way, Rick, everyone should know Rick was village president also.
Well, but not as long as you were. So is there anything else you'd like to add today, Joe, that you can think of that you'd like to let our viewers know about?
Well, I try to stay involved. I love the village, always have. A lot of folks thought I was going to move when I left office, but I volunteer and I try to stay involved. I'm very proud of our village, and I'm glad I'm not hearing they want to become a city, because the city is controlled by different ways, but I'm very pleased that we're still a village. I had a person tell me once, I enjoy being villagey. And I coined that word very often.
Right.
We're villagey.
And we're, in
And when we lose that,
population-wise,
we're going to be
we're,
in trouble.
in population-wise, we're larger than some of our neighbors.
Oh, yeah, I think we are the largest village
In the state, for sure.
in the state.
But we might
Yeah.
be bigger than some cities, also, I believe.
Yes.
But,
And why they want to be cities, I don't know.
yeah, okay. Well, Joe, I'd like to say thank you for joining us today and being here, and thanking you for your service on the board and your continued volunteerism. And wish you the best of health.
Thank you, Rick, and I appreciate all your work as village president.
Well, thank you,
And I
Joe.
know you're still involved, and I want to thank you
Well,
for all that you do.
I had good teachers. But I want to say thank you to our audience, and hope that you'll view future episodes of I Remember Menomonee Falls. Until next time, thank you and goodbye.